Just continue with the theme of coalition for a moment. So in the last coalition, the Liberal Democrats backed a Conservative government that introduced austerity when the Liberal Democrats said, said
Yes.
they wouldn't do that. So how can the people of South Staffordshire trust you?
It's a difficult one. It's the most difficult question I think any Liberal Democrat will face in this election campaign, and probably will continue to face in election campaigns to come. Just this afternoon, Joe Swinson has apologised for the party's role in austerity. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. They lost too many battles. I mean, at a personal level, at the time, I was deeply disappointed that the Liberal Democrats chose to support the Cameron government. I think it looked all wrong. The actual optics of it, with public school boy Nick Clegg and public school boy David Cameron laughing and joking in the Downing Street garden, we got far too close. We got far too close to the Tory party within coalition, and we never maintained that healthy distance that we should have. I think we felt too honour-bound by the idea of cabinet responsibility. But for all of that, I do understand why they made the decision to enter into that coalition. While I don't sympathise, I understand, because I think you have to place it in the very specific context of 2010. We were 2 years out of the biggest recession to hit the country since the 1930s, an even bigger recession by some economic yardsticks. And to have added political instability into that equation at that time would have had, I think, profound consequences for the economy, and possibly derailed the very tentative recovery that had just started at that time. So I think the leadership at that time felt it was in the national interest to support a government and to enter into coalition with the government. And I think they felt, because the Conservatives had achieved the highest number of seats and the largest percentage of the vote, that they were duty bound to go into coalition with the Conservatives. But as I say, I think within that coalition, they probably should have fought harder. But having said that, it was a more honest approach than what we've seen in the last 3 years, where the DUP has held a gun to the head of our government and practically extorted £1 billion in order to pay for their, to effectively pay for their support. Okay. So there was an honesty, but there was also, I would concede, a naivety in trying to ride that Tory tiger, as they say, and we ended up being eaten alive.
Okay. So that said, do you think anything good did come out of that coalition?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if you look back, I mean, I don't know, I'm just trying to think. I mean, the pupil premium is one that leaps out. We introduced that, and that gave £2.5 billion to the most disadvantaged children. There was the tax reforms. We raised the threshold to £10,000, which took 3 million of our lowest earners out of tax altogether. So I think that was a very good measure. We raised inheritance tax for the wealthiest to 28%, while keeping it at 18% for average earners. Okay. And probably most importantly, I think it's certainly in the long term, Ed Davey at Environment did some wonderful work. I mean, the 5p charge for plastic bags reduced their sales by 85%, and that was just one measure among many, sort of encouraging investment in renewable sources. I mean, we led the world in renewable energy during the coalition, and that was thanks to Ed Davey. So there was a lot that came out, things that we achieved, and we also stopped the Conservatives doing a lot of things, such as there was talk of privatising motorways and A roads, for example. There was talk of banning climate change being taught in schools because it ran counter to Conservative orthodoxy. So there were good things, and they wanted to alter inheritance tax, give inheritance tax breaks to the wealthy. And again, we stopped that. But I think, as Joe Swinson has admitted, we probably didn't win as many battles as, looking back, we would have wanted to.
Okay.